Welcome to our few moments together on the Parsha. This Shabbos, when we read Parshas Re'eh, which is always read on or about Rosh Chodesh Elul, in which it says, Re'eh anochi nosein lefnechem hayom bracha uklala, behold, I've placed before you today the blessing and the curse. And of course, Chodesh Elul reminds us of the blessing of life, in which we choose to review our actions of the past year and plan with the goodness of the future. In the middle of the Sedra, it talks about the Navi Sheker. And when it speaks about the Navi Sheker, the false prophet who tries to lead one astray, of course we're told not to listen and not to follow along with the false prophet that's trying to lead us astray. In Perik Yud Gimel and in Pasuk Hey, it says, Acharei Hashem Elokechem Telechu, after Hashem your God you should walk, Va'oso Sira'u, and him you should fear, Ve'es Mitzvosav Tishmoru, and you should guard his commandments, Uvakolo Tishmo, and you should listen to his voice, Va'oso Ta'avodu, and him you shall serve, Uvo Sidbakun, and to him shall you cleave. And many people think that the Uvo Sidbakun, to him shall you cleave, is a result of all the other things that you're going to listen to his voice and guard his commandments and so on. But Rashi points out that Uvo Sidbakun is a separate entity in and of itself. And what it means, based on the Gemara in Sota, is that you should hidavek bidrachav, you should cling to his ways. Gimol chasadim, be doing acts of kindness. Kavod mesim, bury the dead. Baker cholim, visit the sick. Kemoshe asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just like Hashem did. That Hashem did these things. He visited Avraham when Avraham was sick. Hashem buried Moshe when Moshe needed to be buried. And so we should cling to him by following along in his ways. It's interesting. It doesn't say we should be more concerned about how we daven. It doesn't say we should be more concerned about exactly what to learn at any given time or how to observe the Shabbos or the Yom Tov. It talks about relationships between man and his fellow man and what one should do in order to cling to Hashem, to emulate his ways, by doing Gemilas Chasadim, by doing Bikur Cholim. And those are the things that bring about that Hashem's name is glorified in this world. There was a story in the Moreshes Avos about Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, the great Rav of the old city of Jerusalem in the 20s and early 30s before he passed away in 32. And a man came when Rabbi Yosef Chaim was about 75 years old with the following occurrence. One of his relatives was taken ill, and the relative and he were well known to be people who were totally against the observance of the Torah in the new state of Israel, in which there would be a different type of Jew that would be showing the world what it means to be a Jew rather than the one who is observant of the commandments. Anyway, this man, his relative, was taken deathly ill, and he refused to go to a Jewish hospital. He was taken instead to the missionary hospital. The doctors in the missionary hospital gave up hope on him and told him there's no cure, there's no way to help him. But his relative felt maybe Bikur Cholim Hospital would have some doctor who would be able to help. And so he came to Bikur Cholim Hospital and asked to get him admitted. A Dr. Block at the time, who was in admissions, when he realized that this was that particular person who was so against the Torah ways, and in fact went to a missionary hospital where the medical cures were just not up to par, he refused to take him because he felt there's no point in admitting him. The relative knew that the one way to get him admitted was to be going to Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. And so he started walking from the new city to the old city when a downpour came, but he reached the old city. He came to Rabbi Yosef Chaim's house late at night. He knocks on the door. The door is open, And Rabbi Yosef Chaim is sitting there learning, and the man knew that he had to interrupt him. He interrupts him and he said, listen, I hate to bother you, and even though you know that I've been against the Torah ways all these years, I'm begging you and asking you, please write a letter to Dr. Block that he should admit my relative. Maybe they can find a cure. Immediately, Rabbi Yosef Chaim put on his coat and his shoes, and he started running out the door. And the man said, no, Rabbi, I didn't mean you have to go. I just wanted a letter. So Rabbi Yosef Chaim turned to him and said, listen, a letter may help or it may not help. We don't know for sure. This is a matter of pikuach nefesh. We don't stand on ceremony when it comes to pikuach nefesh. And he ran to the hospital, to Bika Cholam Hospital, and he met immediately with Dr. Block. He woke him up, and he said, listen, you have to admit this person, you have to help him, and do everything you can, and I won't take no for an answer. And sure enough, because of Rabbi Yosef Chaim's efforts, the man was admitted, and ultimately his illness was cured, and he was saved. This is what it means when it says, Uvosid Bokun. To him you should cling, because we emulate. Rabbi Yosef Chaim had to deal with someone who was totally far away. But the Torah doesn't permit that. The Torah wants every Jew to love every other Jew and to emulate Hashem in caring for each and every Jew. That's a way to begin Chodesh Elul, with the inspiring story of Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, to teach us how we should react to even those who are so far from the Torah, to help bring them back, not only physically, but also spiritually. Have a wonderful Shabbos.